I think AI is clearly, a lot of people say this is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And we shouldn't fear it. In fact, we should embrace AI.
Join us as today's host, Rudy Suggetti, interviews the inspiring Chip Wade, a trailblazing leader and CEO whose impact on the hospitality industry has shaped iconic brands and uplifted countless lives along the way.
Good morning. Here we are with Chip Wade, CEO for Union Square Hospitality Group. It is a pleasure to have you here and supporting our Prosper Brief. How are you feeling this morning?
I feel great. I'm thrilled to be here, not just with you, but I'm thrilled to be part of the Prosper family as we kind of move through year 3 of this fantastic event and conference.
Thank you so much. So I believe we have an anniversary coming up next week, September 6th. That's
for me personally.
For you
yes,
personally, yes.
September the 3rd.
Oh, the 3rd.
Yes. My wife and I are celebrating 30 years of marriage. My wife, Pam, who's my confidant and best friend, she's going on an amazing journey with me. Again, we're celebrating 30 years together.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I have been following your career for a long time. Legal Seafoods, Dunkin Donuts, TGI Fridays, Red Lobster. So I'm curious to know what inspired you to join Union Square Hospitality Group, but most importantly, how your vision has evolved since you joined the company, your vision for the business.
Yeah, great question. You've done your homework, so thank you very much. So with regard to the first question, what inspired me to join Union Square Hospitality Group? There were a couple of things. Number one, and not surprisingly, Danny Meyer, right? This iconic restaurateur who is a great strategist, very creative. I read Danny's book in roughly 2008, and the book had a profound impact on me in such a way that I ended up buying 115 copies of the book and giving it to my team. At the time, I was a zone VP for Red Lobster. So I was inspired to work with and collaborate with one of our industry's best, number one. Number two, I was inspired to get back into a space that I loved, which is fine dining, chef-driven concepts. I went to Johnson Wells. I went to culinary school. I was a chef in a French restaurant. And while I love casual dining, the opportunity to rejoin and re-enter a space that I loved was the second inspiration. And then thirdly, it's just about the people. And so the culture when I arrived was just what I thought it would be.
That's incredible. Can you share some of your key leadership principles that guide you to some of the decision-making process in a daily basis?
Yeah, so there are a couple things that guide me, as you dub them, my leadership principles. Number one is being a highly engaged leader. I think in our industry in particular, it is essential that leaders, regardless of your title, stay really engaged with the business, right? I get joy when I'm inside of our restaurants. I love our home office, I love our people, but my joy comes from being in the restaurant. So leadership principle number one is stay engaged. Leadership number two is stay focused on training, nurturing, and developing talent at all levels. I think a leader, for me, it's about observing, seeing the right behaviors, tasting, touching, seeing things. And I have an obligation to coach and nurture everyone in the organization. I'd say number three is to stay curious. This has been a foundation for me, is to stay remarkably curious about all things, about people, what drives them, what motivates them, about brands, how do you grow brands, and then lastly is to be a great listener, right? And I think while I've had some great leaders who have coached and mentored me, I've learned as much, if not more, from those who work below me, and the fry cooks, the maitre d's.
Right.
The fourth principle is be a great listener.
As I was saying, as I was doing research, I was looking at an interview, you talk about your happy place.
Yes.
and it's in the restaurants and that sound in the restaurant. You mind touching on that happy? Because it makes me happy. Listen, when you hear all that noise, the register,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like beautiful.
Yeah,
notes,
there
right?
is there's a buzz about being in the restaurant, right? There's a humming of plates clattering and
Right.
silverware. There's a buzz of servers talking to guests. There's a buzz that happens both in sound and the eyes of people that come into a great restaurant
Right.
that get to experience wonderful food, service, and hospitality. And so that is when I talk about my happy place, it's about being in the restaurant and seeing and hearing this buzz and the chatter and the clanging in the plates.
Again, when I heard that, I was like, you're a true operator. I mean, that's how operators we feel when that's our happy place.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about employee well-being, and you touch a little bit on that. How do you ensure that the company's culture remains strong and positive, especially during very tough times?
Yeah, I love this question. It is something that my entire team, that we think about every single day. So I think about culture, I heard it described this way. Culture is like a newborn baby, right? You got to feed it 6-7 times a day. You got to watch it 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And when it makes a mess, you got to clean it up pretty quickly.
That's
right?
beautiful.
So that's how we think about culture. How we keep it alive is we spend a significant amount of time and money on recruiting and interviewing the best and the brightest. We spend meaningful time on onboarding our people, training and onboarding. They're two distinctive roadmaps. And so making sure that our employees understand our culture. Every employee that works and gets hired at Union Square Hospitality Group gets a copy of Setting the Table. We call it our playbook. And we expect them to read cover to cover. I think the last thing I would share about keeping culture vibrant and alive is the responsibility that every leader has, which is to displace underperforming people. And all too often, too many leaders don't talk about the challenging work of politely asking underperformers or people that don't share our values to go work elsewhere. And I think that's the last component that we try to do is when someone doesn't fit or they're not performing well in the skills and the competencies and behaviors, then we owe it to them, honestly, to go work somewhere else.
And there's always, I always tell people, you're always kind to people, but you have to be tough on the results, right?
Yeah.
There is no need to yell at people, to treat them, in ways that people shouldn't be treated.
Yeah.
Just be kind. Even though if I'm terminating you today, I still am going to be kind to you and I'm going to treat you like a person, like
That's
you
right.
should be, right?
Yeah.
Can you share or can you tell us a little more about Hugs, your employee relief program that I think is fantastic, and that's another example of the beautiful culture that you have created.
Yeah, I really have to give a lot of credit to Patty Simpson, who's today is our Chief Admin Officer. Danny Meyer played a critical role. One of our board members, Mark Levitt, played a role. So the Hugs Fund was created for our employees in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
It is a relief fund. Many organizations have these. And the simple intent was to create a system and a process where we could provide financial assistance to our employees who are navigating through economic hardships as a result of the pandemic.
Right.
Now it's now fully embedded into the organization.
Yes.
When we started it, we raised north of $2 million through donations, and we quickly granted away about 1.8 million in the first year. But today, all of our employees, all of our leaders have the opportunity through a payroll deduction to give to the Hugs Relief Fund, and I'm proud of the work that we've done.
Congratulations, a fantastic program.
Thank you.
As one of the few Black CEOs in our industry, how do you approach diversity and inclusion with Union Square Hospitality Group?
Yeah, in a very unapologetic way. I would say first and foremost.
Right.
I I would say first and foremost, I'm committed to ensuring that we have diversity across a broad spectrum in all we do. That's diversity of people, that's diversity of skills, that's diversity of thought. And right, it all starts and begins with the leader, in this case, me, right? And I'm very proud to say of the leadership team that we have, I have 5 women in key critical positions at Union Square Hospitality Group. 2 of those 5 are of Asian descent, right? And so chief marketing,
Right.
Chief admin, chief financial, our general counsel, our chief technology officer, all very strong yet very competent and confident leaders. So it starts with me. We
Right.
still have much work to do,
Of course.
at all levels. And I want to add this last note, which is, I say we're all works of clay, right? We're all being shaped and molded.
Right.
Early in my tenure at USHG, I had a black gentleman, say to me, candidly, I don't go to your restaurants. And it was a bit of a kick in the belly. And I
Right.
said, why? He said, there's not enough people that look like us
Right.
behind the bar, at the front door. And I took that on as a personal challenge. And so we continue to evolve and move toward greater diversity.
So, what some of these initiatives that you have implemented to ensure the workforce reflects the diversity in New York City? And by the way, I did a little research. I look at your website, right? You put some information on the website.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the to answer your question, that's number one.
Right.
We wanted to publicize
Right.
our diversity, by the way, our pay equity as well, so that potential candidates in our own workforce would be able to see that, right?
Right.
And so for me, it was this idea of I'm going to go out and make public statements to our employees to say that the workforce should look like New York City. And I wanted a way for myself to be held accountable. And so people can look on that and go, Chip, you and your team either are or you're not
Right.
walking your talk, right? So that's one of the ways. When we're doing summer internships, for example, we just concluded a summer internship where we get 24 to 26 students from across the country. I'm intimately involved with our leaders to say, what HBCU schools have you attended or talked to? Let's talk about the makeup before we make the final decision. So I'm actively involved in that. And then, of course, I play a role in succession planning and talent.
But like you said, employers want to see that.
Sure.
And then there is an accountability process behind that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
very transparent.
Yeah.
So I genuinely, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
What are some of the experiences that, from your previous roles, whether it was legal seafood or Dunkin Donuts, so yeah, you've been around the industry for a while, that they have been the most value for your current role today? You know, sometimes we look at it and say, there was a moment at a time that I make this decision that it got me to where I am today.
Yeah, there've been a couple, right?
Right,
I've been
of
out
course.
this for 37, 38 years, and I love this industry. There've been, to answer your question, a handful of defining moments
Right.
in my career that have shaped me. One was roughly in 1993, I was a multi-unit supervisor for TGI Fridays. It was a company I joined right out of college. I moved through the ranks and ascended up to GM and then ultimately DO.
Right.
Fridays was going through a restructuring, and the CEO and the powers to be asked me to move into HR. I had no desire to go in HR.
Right.
I didn't raise my hand.
Right.
But I was moved into HR. And for a while, in the spirit of full transparency, I spent the first 90 days trying to figure out how to get the hell out of
Sure.
that discipline and maybe the organization. And I found a mentor who said, essentially, young man, hang in there. This is a really good discipline and it's going to help you. And so as a result of that, I spent almost 6.5 years of my professional career in the HR discipline. Not surprisingly, understanding talent development, understanding people, understanding compensation, those things have helped, I believe, me to become a better CEO and a better leader. And so that's one. If I can share a second.
Sure.
In a very similar fashion, I had finished my master's degree at the University of Texas at Dallas. I was working still at this time for TGI Fridays, and Wally Doolin, the legendary CEO of TGI Fridays, asked me to move into development. Again, I had no experience in real estate development or design. I didn't raise my hand. It was one of those things, I'm asking you, but I really want you to move into this role.
Right.
And so that was another example where I essentially said yes, clearly, but I said yes to this idea of being curious, about wanting to learn. That also, I spent 7 years in real estate design and construction. That also has helped me to become a better leader and I think a better CEO.
And what I love about that, we all always talk about training and development, but it takes someone to look at you and say, I see potential here. I'm putting you in that uncomfortable role.
Yes.
That's the best development pro you can get, right? I mean,
right.
there can be a lot of things that, let's work, but when you're in that role, in a way you're forced to figure things out, to make mistakes. But also that's where having great mentors in the industry, call someone and say, listen, I need your help. I need validation. Here's what is in front of me. Can you help me? And by the way, that's what is so great about the industry. Everybody will lend you a hand. And everybody's available to help. And that's why we love the industry.
I could not agree with you more. I left TGI Fridays and went to Darden. And in Darden, I had the opportunity to work directly for Clarence Otis, the chairman and CEO. And Clarence gave me an assignment. Darden, Joe Lee, Clarence gave me an assignment to be the head of development for a new concept called Smoky Bones. Right. And so I had zero experience in negotiating deals. And I made a handful of mistakes, right?
Of course.
But those experiences I learned from.
And again, now you're in your role that you have to do that with other people. I see the potential. I'm going to put you here. And they're like, I don't know if I want that. Trust me. This is great for your career.
That's right. That's right.
Let's talk a little bit about technology. And we always say, the restaurant business, I always feel like we are behind on technology. What is your thought about technology? Listen, we have to embrace technology. What's your thoughts about AI? What's going to happen? There is a lot of, we don't know, but there is a lot also happening. September, iPhone is going to have AI, and, kids are going to be using it. How you feel about that whole?
So I'll break it down in two areas. First of all, technology, I'm a huge supporter, sponsor. I think companies don't spend enough on technology. And that's not just the software and hardware, but it's also the people to drive the technology roadmap and platform. We're very fortunate. We have what I believe one of the best in the industry, and a woman by the name of Kelly McPherson. And so we believe that technology can be and should be an enabler to grow revenue, to connect closer with guests, to get our chefs and GMs out of the office and in the kitchen and on the dining room floor. And so we're going to keep spending money in technology. I think AI is clearly, and a lot of people say this, is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And we shouldn't fear it. In fact, we should embrace AI. I think AI is going to have a significant impact in a couple of disciplines specifically. I think legal, I think marketing. In those two areas that AI will be able to shape how we think, how we write narratives about a new concept, and then how we go to market, AI will play a critical role.
So Chip, I know you're a very busy person. Wake up early in the morning, go later. You talk to everybody in your organization. How do you balance the demands from your role with your family, personal life, well-being? How you do that? Because everybody does a little different, and something that we have to do in order to be, feel good about what we do. How you manage that?
Listen, I would say this on a couple of things about balancing work-life balance. One, for me, I'm a big believer and I try to practice habits and routines, right? So waking up at the same time, for me, I wake up at 5:15. And then I have this routine of how I start my day in a very reflective mode, typically reading from the Bible. And there's a spiritual awakening that, this is just me, that helps me. So I'm a fan of having great routines. I also am a fan of managing the hell out of my calendar, and my EA does a great job, right? Of saying, Chip, you're getting a call or someone wants to talk to you. I have to have the intestinal fortitude to say, I'm really sorry, but I can't, right? And then I would say the third thing, as I think about balance, and my wife, as I noted, has gone on this journey with me is, and I'm not always good at this, which is when I'm at work at USHE, I give it my all, right?
Yep.
When I'm with my wife, when I'm with my two grown sons, I try my best to unplug so that I'm focusing on them. And because at the end of the day, I chose this industry. I have a young son who also chose this industry. And I tell people, we essentially work when the rest of the world plays.
Right.
So if you can get comfortable with the idea, then you're going to love this industry.
Right.
But this work-life balance is when I'm with work, I'm with work.
Right.
When I'm with my wife, when I'm with my family, I try to give them my attention.
And you mentioned, look, your calendar. We work days, nights, weekends, holidays. It's tough, right? But we love it.
That's right.
But I have heard from other CEOs, they are like, even when I exercise, it's on my calendar. I will put 6:30, that's my time. It's as important as talking to another CEO or talking to someone in the board. And I think if you respect that and you respect yourself, that's how you find your balance. A lot of people are like, I don't have time for that. You have to make time for that. Right?
I said to a leader literally a month ago, if it's important to you, put it on your calendar.
That's it.
It's just that simple.
Right.
And so whether it's working out, I once worked for a leader who put on his calendar when he was going to get his car detailed. And I thought, like, okay, twice a month.
Right.
The first and third Monday, it was that important to him. And so if it's important to you, put it on your calendar.
Excellent. How do you envision the future of the dining and hospitality in the post-pandemic world? You know, a lot of things have changed.
Sure.
We're still feeling a lot of that. How you see that?
Yeah, listen, I think we are humans, are creatures of habits, right? We are people. We are a species that likes to stay engaged and stay connected. So our industry, the demise of our industry is, simply not true.
Right.
Now, that being said, as you noted, there are some significant changes that have happened and will continue to happen, right? The work from home Monday and Friday specifically will impact our industry, particularly in big cities, right? So that's number one. I think number two is consumers value and appreciate their time even more, which means they want to spend less time in your establishment, right? So we have to be mindful of pre-pandemic, if there was a 2.5 hour lunch, those days are over.
Right.
And so I think that's important. I think the future of our industry is also such that we have to understand that the workforce at all levels has different needs and wants and expectations as a result of the pandemic. And we not only have to be cognizant of that, but we have to adapt our programs, our scheduling, our benefits to face the new realities of the workforce.
Well said. My last question for you. What are your thoughts about Dave Matthews Band?
Well, again, thank you. You've done your homework. I'm a fanatical Dave Matthews Band fan. I've probably gone to I have gone to 20 plus concerts. I tell people I have Dave Matthews hats and pajamas and buttons and bumper stickers. But I think he's one of the great artists.
Again, Chip, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much. We wish you the best in this incredible career. And thank you so much for your support to Prosper. It's very much appreciated.
Well, first of all, this has been a joy. Thank you very much. Congratulations to Hattie and David and the entire Prosper team I'd say we hit a grand slam home run this week. So thank you.
Thank you again. Take care.
All the best.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode with Chip Wade. If his story of leadership and innovation resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned as we continue to bring you insights from trailblazers shaping the future of hospitality. We'll see you next time here at the Prosper Brief.